The Caribbean waters are churning with unprecedented fury as Hurricane Melissa tears through Jamaica with devastating 140-mile-per-hour winds. But what has Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis scrambling behind closed doors isn't just another storm approaching the Sunshine State. It's the shocking speed at which this monster has exploded from a tropical disturbance into a catastrophic Category 4 hurricane in less than 2 days. Right now, as Melissa batters Jamaica's coastline, emergency sirens are wailing across 67 Florida counties. The governor has declared a full state emergency, and evacuation orders are spreading like wildfire through communities that haven't faced a direct hit from a major hurricane in over a century. But the real panic isn't coming from the storm itself. It's coming from what meteorologists are calling the most dangerous combination of factors they've ever recorded for the Tampa Bay region. Here's what nobody saw coming. While Melissa was still forming in the Atlantic, water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico reached a staggering 87 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not just warm for late October. That's record-breaking heat that turns hurricanes into supercharged monsters. And when Hurricane Hunter aircraft penetrated Melissa's eye just hours ago, they recorded a central pressure of 938 millibars. For those who don't speak hurricane science, that's the kind of reading that sends veteran storm trackers into emergency mode. The numbers are terrifying, but they're just the beginning of Florida's nightmare scenario. What makes this storm different from anything in living memory isn't just its strength. It's the perfect storm of circumstances that have aligned to create what experts are calling a once-in-a-century disaster waiting to happen. Let me paint the picture of what Florida is actually facing right now. Tampa Bay, which dodged major hurricanes for over 100 years, has transformed from a sleepy fishing community of fewer than 10,000 people into a sprawling metropolis housing 3.2 million residents. The same coastline that weathered the 1921 hurricane with modest damage is now packed with luxury condominiums, glass office towers, and trillion-dollar neighborhoods built right at sea level. The timing couldn't be worse. Sea levels along Florida's Gulf Coast have risen 8 inches since 1950, and that seemingly small increase has pushed thousands of properties into flood zones that didn't exist when they were built. Streets that stayed dry during previous storms now flood during regular high tides. Drainage systems designed for the past can't handle the new reality of higher baseline water levels combined with increasingly powerful storms. But here's where the situation gets truly unprecedented. Governor DeSantis isn't just dealing with a natural disaster. He's staring down the collapse of Florida's entire property insurance system in real time. Over the past 3 years, insurance companies have been fleeing the state faster than residents during an evacuation. The average homeowner's policy now costs $3,600 per year, and that's if you can even find coverage. Citizens Property Insurance Corporation, the state-run insurer that was supposed to be a safety net, has become the primary carrier for nearly 769,000 properties across Florida. That's more than double what it was designed to handle. Internal documents show that a direct hit from Hurricane Melissa could trigger claims totaling tens of billions of dollars, far beyond what any single insurer can absorb. The math is brutal and simple. If Melissa delivers the catastrophic damage that forecasters predict, every property owner in Florida could face emergency assessments to keep the system from total collapse. The governor's emergency declaration covers all 67 counties, but the real focus is on the Tampa Bay region, where mandatory evacuation orders have sent 2.5 million people scrambling for higher ground. Interstate 75 has been converted to contraflow, with every lane pointing north, but traffic is already gridlocked from Tampa to Gainesville. Families are reporting travel times of 8 hours or more for trips that normally take 2. Gas stations along evacuation routes ran dry within hours of the first emergency alerts. Hotel booking sites crashed under the surge of desperate travelers, and by midday, accommodations from Tallahassee to Atlanta were completely booked. The infrastructure that Florida relies on to move millions of people to safety is buckling under pressure it was never designed to handle. Meanwhile, Hurricane Melissa continues its relentless march toward the Gulf Coast. The storm's wind field now extends 80 miles from its center, with tropical storm conditions stretching 200 miles in every direction. That means nearly the entire width of the Florida Peninsula could experience damaging winds, even areas far from the eye of the storm. What has emergency managers truly terrified isn't just the wind. It's the storm surge projections showing 15 to 20 feet of water inundating low-lying areas around Tampa Bay. To put that in perspective, most first floors of buildings would be completely underwater. The National Weather Service issued a bulletin stating that storm surge at these levels is unsurvivable above ground floor, and anyone in mandatory evacuation zones must leave immediately. The governor's visible urgency during his press conferences reveals the scale of what Florida is confronting. This isn't just another hurricane making landfall. It's a stress test of every system the state has built to protect its residents and economy. From insurance markets to evacuation routes, from building codes to emergency shelters, Hurricane Melissa is about to reveal whether Florida's rapid growth has outpaced its ability to handle disasters. Power companies are already warning that outages could last weeks, especially in areas with overhead lines and limited access for repair crews. Duke Energy's worst-case scenario shows 500,000 customers losing electricity for at least a week, with some coastal neighborhoods facing blackouts that could stretch into a month or more. Utility crews from as far away as Ohio and Texas are staging north of the projected surge zone. But restoration will be painfully slow, with downed lines, impassable roads, and flooded substations blocking access. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge, the iconic span connecting St. Petersburg to southern counties, is scheduled to close as soon as sustained winds reach 40 miles per hour. Bridge closures will cut off escape routes and isolate entire communities, turning neighborhoods into islands where rescue operations won't be possible until long after the storm passes. As Hurricane Melissa continues to batter Jamaica and churns toward Florida's Gulf Coast, the next 48 hours will determine whether the state's emergency response systems can handle the most severe test they've ever faced. The governor's emergency declaration has set everything in motion, but the true measure of Florida's preparedness is about to be written in wind, water, and the courage of millions of people in the path of an unprecedented storm. The clock is ticking, evacuation windows are rapidly closing, and Hurricane Melissa shows no signs of weakening as it approaches the most vulnerable and densely populated stretch of Florida's coastline. The economic shockwaves are already rippling through Florida's real estate market before Melissa even makes landfall. Within hours of the storm's projected track locking onto Tampa Bay, property listings started vanishing from Zillow and Redfin like sandcastles at high tide. Real estate agents across Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Sarasota counties report a stunning 60% collapse in new contracts and a flood of deal cancellations as buyers flee to safer markets. Luxury waterfront properties that commanded millions just days ago are now completely unsellable. Harbor Island condominiums, Bradenton Estates, and downtown Tampa high-rises sit frozen in a market that's gone from red-hot to stone-cold overnight. The psychological impact is immediate and devastating. When buyers see a Category 4 hurricane bearing down on their dream home, no amount of granite countertops or ocean views can justify the risk. University of Florida economists are projecting economic losses between $300 and $400 billion, with the state's GDP potentially shrinking by 8% in the coming quarter. Job losses could range from 300,000 to 500,000 as construction sites shut down. Tourism operators cancel bookings, and small businesses board up for what could be weeks or months of disruption. The parallels to Hurricane Katrina are chilling. After the levees broke in New Orleans, property values didn't just decline, they cratered. Tax revenues collapsed, and population loss became permanent. Recovery isn't just about rebuilding structures. It's about whether people and capital will ever return to a region that's been branded as too dangerous for investment. But Governor DeSantis isn't going down without a fight. Behind closed doors at the state capitol, emergency legislative sessions are already being planned. Sources close to the governor's office reveal discussions about radical tax relief measures, including elimination of property taxes for homesteaded properties statewide. The proposal would include immediate $1,000 rebate checks to every homeowner and a constitutional amendment pushed to permanently wipe out property tax levies. The governor's reasoning is straightforward but desperate. People shouldn't have to pay rent to the government, especially when their home values are tanking and their insurance bills are skyrocketing through the roof. It's a political Hail Mary designed to keep residents from abandoning Florida altogether as climate risks mount and insurance costs spiral out of control. Legislative leaders are already pushing back hard. House Speaker Daniel Perez dismissed the proposal as fake tax relief, accusing the governor of chasing headlines instead of addressing the underlying crisis. But DeSantis is doubling down, vetoing funding for property tax studies and calling legislative committees a total dog and pony show. The urgency is palpable because the governor knows what's coming next. Wall Street's biggest players are already heading for the exits. Blackstone, the world's largest alternative asset manager, has quietly begun liquidating its Florida real estate portfolio. Properties bought for $490,000 in 2022 are being dumped for $360,000, representing devastating 27% losses that signal institutional capital's complete loss of confidence in Florida's market stability. When the smartest money on Wall Street is bailing out of Florida real estate, retail investors and homebuyers take notice. The message is unmistakable. If Blackstone can't make money in Florida's market, what does that say about the average family trying to build wealth through homeownership? Mobile home parks across the evacuation zone present the most heartbreaking scenarios. Twin Palms. Mobile Home Park in Pinellas County sits just 3 feet above sea level, housing seniors and working families who chose affordable housing over hurricane safety. County engineering reports have long flagged these aluminum-sided structures as death traps in major hurricanes, unable to withstand winds above 90 miles per hour. Emergency managers estimate that 120,000 residents live in mobile homes throughout Pinellas County alone, many directly in the path of the projected 20-foot storm surge. Evacuation buses are running around the clock, but capacity is limited, and many residents lack transportation or the physical ability to evacuate quickly. Social media feeds fill with desperate pleas for rides, updates on who still needs help, and heart-wrenching stories of neighbors helping neighbors in humanity's darkest hour. Hospital administrators face their own nightmare scenarios. Tampa General and All Children's Hospital have activated emergency protocols to transfer ICU patients and newborns to inland facilities, relying on networks of ambulances and backup generators staged at safer locations. The logistics of moving critically ill patients ahead of a major hurricane strain every resource these medical centers have. For residents with disabilities or chronic health conditions requiring power for medical equipment, the approaching blackout represents a potentially fatal threat. Duke Energy's outage projections show 500,000 customers could lose electricity for a week or longer, with some coastal areas facing month-long blackouts as repair crews struggle to access flooded and debris-filled neighborhoods. The Sunshine Skyway bridge closure protocol leaves no margin for error. Once sustained winds hit 40 miles per hour, the iconic span shuts down completely, severing the physical connection between St. Petersburg and southern counties. Emergency managers warn that anyone still in evacuation zones after bridge closures will be completely cut off, unable to receive help until crews complete post-storm safety inspections that could take days or weeks. As Hurricane Melissa's outer bands begin lashing Jamaica with increasing fury, Florida watches and waits. The storm's rapid intensification from tropical disturbance to Category 4 monster in less than 48 hours has shattered every prediction model meteorologists rely on. Record-breaking Gulf water temperatures of 87 degrees continue feeding Melissa's engine of destruction, and there's no sign the storm will weaken before reaching Florida's coast. The next 12 hours will determine whether millions of Floridians can successfully evacuate before hurricane-force winds make travel impossible. Gas shortages, traffic gridlock, and overwhelmed shelters are testing the state's emergency response system beyond its designed limits. Every hour that passes narrows the window for safe escape and increases the likelihood that this unprecedented storm will catch people in harm's way. Hurricane Melissa represents more than just another weather event threatening Florida's coast. It's a reckoning with decades of unchecked coastal development, climate change denial, and the dangerous assumption that past performance guarantees future safety. The evidence is overwhelming and the timeline unforgiving. Hurricane Melissa has evolved from a Caribbean disturbance into a Category 4 monster targeting the most vulnerable coastline in America. Governor DeSantis' statewide emergency declaration covers 67 counties, but the real test isn't happening in Tallahassee boardrooms. It's unfolding on clogged highways where 2.5 million evacuees race against time, in mobile home parks where seniors wait for buses that may never come, and in insurance offices where the math of recovery simply doesn't add up anymore. What makes this moment truly historic isn't just Melissa's 140-mile-per-hour winds or the 20-foot storm surge bearing down on Tampa Bay. It's the collision of record-breaking natural forces with a state that bet everything on endless growth and perfect weather. The same coastline that survived 1921 with a few thousand residents now holds 3.2 million people and $3 trillion in property value. The same Gulf waters that once seemed predictable now run 8 degrees hotter than normal, turning every storm into a potential catastrophe. The next 24 hours will reveal whether Florida's emergency systems can handle their greatest test, whether millions can reach safety before the bridges close, and whether a state built on sunshine and optimism can survive the new reality of supercharged hurricanes in a warming world. For those still in harm's way, the message remains clear. Hurricane Melissa waits for no one, and the time for hesitation has already passed.